Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Well, hello, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and we are broadcasting on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley on CIVL. And we are broadcasting from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. Well, I'm so glad that you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth this evening because we've got a fantastic show. And if you are a new listener, Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show, and it's all about metaphysics and spirituality. And sometimes we invite fantastic guests, and sometimes we do spiritual teachings. And this evening we have a wonderful guest with us. And her name is Amira Hall, and she is an Amazon best-selling author. She's a clairvoyant, she's a quantum energy healer, and she's a mentor. And she sparks lasting changes and awakening consciousness in people. And she's got a very interesting story because she's a survivor of a life or death prognosis. And she's struggled in her past with lots of health issues and depression and anxiety and relationship issues as well. She describes herself as a highly sensitive empath. And after her near-death experience, she actually discovered her clairvoyant and healing abilities. And now she spends her life sharing this information and teaching other people. And we were talking before this show, and we have a lot in common. So welcome to the show, Amira.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leslie. It's really a thrill, a pleasure, and a great honor to be with you.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to have you here. And we always like to have a theme that we talk about. And so I know that you've written a few books about manifesting, so that seems like a really good theme. So I think the theme today, listeners, is about manifestation. And what we want to do is we want to help you to understand any blocks to manifestation, and what you need to do in order to manifest what you want. So, for example, raising your energy vibration and letting go of denser energies that might be getting in your way of that. So that's what the theme is going to be. And we're going to be asking Amira, as we progress in our discussion, for some hints and tips about how she teaches people to do that. Before that, I'd like to know a little bit about you, Amira, and one of the things that I'm really curious about, and actually I should remember to ask this question to all of our guests, because, you know, we get thousands of questions sent from our listeners, because sometimes in the show we answer listeners' questions. The most common question is, what is my life purpose? So I want to ask you how you, and most people have no idea what their life purpose is. Most people believe they have it and they're struggling to find it. So I want to ask you how you discovered your life purpose, and any seeds of wisdom that you can give to people who are struggling to know what theirs is at the moment.
Wow. Thank you. I needed the cosmic 2x4 to hit me, and I think that's pretty common also. I think so many of us resist what's like a whisper, maybe calling from our soul, because of either a judgment with our family or a sense with society that it's perhaps a not accepted path, or maybe it doesn't make enough money, or, there's a lot of what I call pictures or senses of what's right or what's not acceptable. And I think I was battling a lot of that myself. And it was really the near-death experience that I had while I was traveling in Egypt that was my great, big, huge, massive wake-up call that really because I was stuck in a place of deep, dark depression after it. And when I came out of the experience, I could see people walking like black and white paper dolls. And I felt like I was stuck in a realm of, I didn't understand it at the time that it was a realm or a space. I thought the planet was just filled with anger and hatred and despair. And that was what I plugged into. And so I desperately wanted to get out of it. And for me, the journey of trying to heal myself or desperately release that pain, that emotional pain, that mental pain, that anguish of feeling stuck and limited, that was what uncovered that I was meant to be doing the work I'm doing now, which is teaching people how to access their purpose and their intuitive abilities. So the funny thing was, I remember one of the instructors of the meditation, she goes, you're clairvoyant. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, don't think I'm going to be doing this. I was so naughty, I was really feisty and resistant and everything. So I had to have pain. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us have to have pain. And I think the things that we were always curious about have been dropping little hints all along. I've always been curious about intuition and ghosts and the astrology and tarot. I've always found a fascination in the unseen world. And here I am, doing it, but learning it and understanding it and grounding it and making it real for me, myself, and teaching others that it isn't scary. It's actually empowering when you have the information to serve you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I go way off in left field with that?
I think you brought up a few different things, and one is that there is a flip side to pain. And the flip side to pain is tremendous empowerment once you get through the other side. And the other thing you said, so many of us have to go through this pain. And I think of our generation, so many of us have. That's kind of been the path of our generation. We're kind of, I know both you and I were in the corporate world before we did this work. And because that was the programming, wasn't it? You get a status in society, you get an education, you earn a certain amount of money. And then so many of us follow that path and realize that we're not happy in it,
And then we're invalidated if we're not making money.
Right. And if we're a little bit different than fitting into the square box of the way people are expected to. And so our awakening has been through that struggle and that dichotomy of being in an environment that is a very different vibration than our natural vibration, and feeling the pain and cleansing the pain and then emerging out of it and being able to make a conscious choice to focus on this work.
And I think too, and with that pain is having somebody or a technique or a tool that serves as a rail or even crutches in a way, if you could say that, but tools to direct you and mentorship to support you, because there were so many dark moments that I didn't have a clue where I was. I was truly lost in this quagmire. And I think having, high level teachers to show me where the light was instrumental.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, and so now that's our work, is to obviously be those teachers, because there are still a tremendous amount of people who are coming through that quagmire, and so both you and I had teachers and mentors ourselves, and so listeners, that can be just to reach out and find somebody to help you is really, really important. The other thing I wanted to say though is one of the hopes that I really have is that we're the generation that's doing this and going through that pain, but I have hope that some of the future generations, at least some greater portion of it than in our lifetime, isn't going to have that struggle.
Well, it's interesting. I was contemplating this earlier today, and I was like, not necessarily about the struggle, but the discipline.
Right.
And the learning how to practice something.
Yeah.
And I think wrapped in with the struggle and the burning desire that kept me going was developing a practice and a focus and a patience and delivering mastery.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that a lot of people today, I'm noticing, they don't want to do the tools or the practice. They just want to turn it on or push a button or hit an app and get their answer.
McDonald's spirituality. Fast food.
And it's frustrating for me, quite honestly, in trying to help others understand is, you really have to develop that focus. And I think that painful time for me has been sort of the birth canal into really anchoring mastery. And not that I'm there, I'm still practicing, right? But I do see that serves very valuable training ground.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you actually make a really good point, and I like two of the things that you said, the focus and the patience, because I know that in my own clients, there are some that I'm just, focus, be patient, do the techniques, it's gonna work,
we're laughing. I hope our listeners aren't thinking this is so. They're not thinking it's so funny. Quite honestly, we're laughing because we see that we've both been there, right?
Exactly.
And we see it happen over and over and over. It's just, okay, there you are again. You're not following. And each of us has to find that little groove for ourselves. And but I work with so many people that just want me to read or clear their energy field and give them their answers. Quite honestly, it's in the discovery, at least for me, in my experiences with students, is in the discovery and finding and getting those answers themselves that really anchor that truth for them.
Absolutely.
So I could tell them what their purpose is and they're going, yeah. But it doesn't really sit with them until they earn it and they get it. And then it clicks and then they're on fire, it's there.
Absolutely. 100% agree. I would much rather teach somebody how to connect with their own divine consciousness and intuition than do it for them.
I have this client. Do we have time for a story here?
Yes, yeah, we do.
Okay. I had this client that came to me asking me for that very purpose. And I was living in Dubai at the time, and she was referred to me by a holistic practitioner, a naturopath. And this lady had already registered for the top schools in America, an Ivy League school, to go to psychology training or education. She came from a very well-bred family, and high-level education from the best schools was the most important thing for their family. Money was not an issue. So I wish some of us had that, right? And so she came to me and she was depressed, and she was continually depressed, and the natural health practitioner couldn't help her. And they just didn't seem to make headway. So after 3 or 4 sessions and clearing the energy, and finally she was sitting there one day and I said, "Do you like cooking? I just see cooking all around you. It's just bubbling up." And I lived in a really tall ceiling place, a loft, and she damn near hit that ceiling. She was so excited. She literally bounced, and she goes, "I love cooking." I said, "That's your passion."
Exactly. And that's how you know what you're here to do, because you feel it.
She couldn't stay awake, go to bed. She was on the internet. She goes, "But Amira, that's not Ivy League. That's not posh." And I go, "Excuse me, my dear, there's a Cordon Bleu school." And once she got into her groove, she even manifested going to the Cordon Bleu school. She got her kids in school. Her husband said, "Go for it." The family supported her. And then when she got there, nobody else registered. She got private classes.
Wow.
So it was like one thing after another validated that she was doing the right thing. And I get chills every time I tell the story. But those are the signs, that we're looking for. Well, is this true?
Yeah.
Is it real? And she met people that said, "You can bring your pastries to my shop." And she had business before she even finished school. So I love it, because when we're there, we know it's lasting. Even if we have some bumps and some pitfalls, it's going to have a lasting effect, and we're going to have the support and the validation from our guides, our family, and supporters. So Yeah, it's always very exciting when we get there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's such a wonderful story. Oh, that's such a fantastic story. I think that perhaps on that note, we'll go to a break and then we'll come back and we will talk some more about manifestation.
Love it.
Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and today's guest, Amira Hall. And if you are only just tuning in, Amira is a best-selling author and she is a miracle mentor. So she helps people to tune into their intuition. And she's also written some books about manifestation. And so we were just talking about, before the break, about life purpose. And Amira shared a story of one of her clients who discovered her purpose. And as soon as she was on track with that, everything started manifesting around her that she needed to make that happen. So now there might be some people listening to this, Amira, that say that I mean, we talked about the struggle to know your purpose. No, and sometimes your purpose right now is just to clear the pain so that you can get to the point where you can tune in and resonate with the purpose. But, you know, there might be some people who are listening in and saying, well, you know, I've been struggling with money issues for years, or I've been struggling with manifesting my soulmate relationship for years, and it's not happening to me. And I just, you know, so how can we help the people who are struggling with manifesting what they want right now?
Well, that very word struggle conjures up, you know, an energetic block. Mm-hmm. And so when we focus on the struggle, we create more struggle, don't we? Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds very trite and even oversimplistic. So, you know, for me, I know I struggle to just getting clear. I mean, after my near death, all I could see was black every time I closed my eyes. Mm. And in terms of clairvoyance that way, I think getting clear and really letting go, really being honest, really getting to the truth of how we're feeling and really letting go of our attachments to the pain, perhaps. Mm. You know, I think a lot of people, they might not look at this as an addiction, but many of us are addicted to the pain and to the struggle and to the suffering. Yeah. So when we can let that go, then we can go, okay, now what? It's like when you cry really hard, all of a sudden you feel really great.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of truth in what you said. I mean, because I think you I think you used the word acceptance. You kind of have to accept everything as it is right now. While you're resisting something or you're pushing against it, you're not accepting it. And while you're resisting it, it's going to stay, right? So accept and let go of effort, let go of the struggle, because, I mean, what I often say is that if you're in effort, you're operating as body consciousness. You're not operating as spirit, because spirit doesn't use effort.
Right.
And so let go of the effort.
And it's so conditioned at such a deep, deep level for all of us, right? Mm. It's like, well, I'm letting go. Well, no, you're not. You know, if you're having to say that, then you haven't, right?
Right, exactly.
Oh boy, I know it's a double-edged sword, I guess, but you only know, I often use the metaphor of clicking a seatbelt. Mm. When you hear the click, then you know it's fastened. Mm. And it's like that with letting go. It's a click. There's a shift. We know when we know. And I think then there's the other areas that we don't know of. I think my biggest journey was letting go of the unconscious. I spent my whole childhood trying to fix and heal my dysfunctional family. Mm. I think a lot of people are very sensitive empaths and just absorbing everybody else's energy, and they're not recognizing. They're thinking there's something wrong with them.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's that unconscious field of energy that's thwarting their manifesting abilities.
Absolutely.
And so it's a complicated
Yeah. So their energy is out trying in everyone else's reality. They're not using it for themselves. And then often in family environments, everyone else is in your business too. And it's a whole mess of energy and nobody's clear in their own energetic state.
That's right.
and nobody's able to manifest what they would if they were in that clear energetic state.
Yeah, I really got to experience that living in the Middle East because their families are extremely in each other's space. And I would call it meddling. And it was very apparent there why certain people aren't, nobody's moving anywhere. Everybody's sort of in a stalemate kind of thing. Everybody's sort of lost and in a lot of pain.
That's interesting.
And yeah, it was a curious study, actually, watching how the different cultures of people, how the energetic exchanges affect their ability to manifest. So,
especially as that's such a wealthy nation as well.
Well, there again, that's a whole other study, but I was immersing myself in incredible abundance. And I did have the great privilege of working with many members of the royal families. So I dined at the royal family tables, and it was interesting. In many ways, they're no different than us.
No.
I remember working with a princess, and she couldn't get pregnant naturally. She was told that she couldn't have a child by natural childbirth. So she had 3 children, and they were all conceived with, medical assistance, IVF. Once I saw the energy, I said to her, what happened at, when you were a teenager, late teens? And she said, well, I was told I was supposed to marry somebody, and I married someone else. She didn't want to marry into the royal family. Well, that actually created a block on her creative abilities and her baby maker. And so I saw a lot of that in those cultures, because there's such a push to get all the focuses on making the baby. The person actually loses their identity. She wasn't able to manifest anything. That was her whole purpose.
Right.
But there was so much more beyond that. But she got lost in that whole cultural family So you could translate that to any family, I guess you could say, in any culture. But that was extremely prevalent over there.
Yeah.
The picture.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's
by the way, she delivered a happy, healthy baby boy, and she conceived naturally after we cleared the energy.
Very good.
And her relationship healed. She developed a passion that she could build a charity around and help people, and everything was amazing. But it was a great example of, it wasn't even money wasn't an issue.
No, and that's kind of where I was going with it is, a lot of people who don't have a lot of money feel that if they could just manifest the money, it would solve all their problems. It's not true. And money is not just what manifestation is about. It's about you creating your unique creative expression in the world.
And that really ties in nicely, because that was her creative bubble. That was that second and third chakra energy where she lost her power and couldn't do what she wanted to create and what she wanted to have in life. She was sort of a non-person.
Yes.
And I think we've all done that. You don't have to be in the Arab culture to have lost your way. So I'm not picking on them if anybody's listening.
Well, if you're in a family and you've got parents or you've got children, then this has happened to you.
You weren't hatched. You have that lesson.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what I love too about being in that environment is how many of them just assume abundance. That was my study. I felt like I was at a master level, just being in it. Who said you have to work hard?
Yes. Well, because they're born in, and many of them are just born into abundance.
That's not completely true about the entire society, but the ones that have an automatic assumption.
Yes.
It just is. Of course I have a Gucci purse. Of course I drive a Range Rover. Excuse me, why wouldn't I?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's no barriers to abundance. They didn't come in and get programmed with the barriers to abundance that somebody, perhaps some of our listeners might have done. And it's just based on belief. They don't have the same beliefs that you do. If you're struggling with abundance, you've got a set of beliefs that are blocking you. And they don't have it. So
you have to work hard for your money. You've got to be responsible. You know, it doesn't grow on trees. Well, over there, it just falls from the sky. No, it was an incredible experience. And so that really helped me too, you know, shift my attitude and realize where I'm limited, because, you know, I'm still work in progress. It's still going.
And every human is really. As long as you have a body, you're a work in progress.
Work in progress.
Exactly, because you're experiencing three-dimensional reality, time, space, and all of that. So, now, you coined a term that I wanted to ask you about. I don't know whether you coined it, but I know that you, which is, you're talking about, I wanted to ask you about fifth dimensional living. So explaining to the listeners the difference between the third dimension and the fifth dimension and what it is to live in the fifth dimension. But I also wanted to ask you about your personal journey integrating your spiritual understanding into your daily living as well.
You know, I think it all developed or evolved about learning how to be present. And I think we talked about that briefly before we started the show, is being grounded, you know, really the most basic sense of being present. And you know, in writing the book, you know, Manifesting Miracles 101, it was really sort of a guidebook for my students with the practical tools and the techniques, step-by-step prognosis to live in a flow. Because it's Manifesting Miracles, the art of being in the flow. And to me, that's what 5D living is a total awareness of your environment, where you're at, where you are, being present. And attention, being able to manifest things effortlessly, and being authentic, being in alignment with what is true for you.
Yeah.
So it's really, in simple terms, everything that we've been talking about. I mean, we all want to manifest what we want, right? I want what I want, you want what you want. But how do we get there? So to me, that's like having a higher level spiritual understanding and understanding the interconnection of each thing, having a reverence for myself and you and our connection and everything around us, and being able to plug in and manifest those desires.
And going back to manifestation, it's also about trust, isn't it? Because I think what a lot of people try to do is they try to control the manifestation. And it's about trusting that you're in the flow and the universe has heard your request.
And I would add to that is raising our vibration to connect with that which already is.
Exactly.
Right? Because if we understand quantum physics and the nature of everything is already created, if we have an idea of something that we desire, let's say a Rolls Royce in front of my house, that and it's got my name on it, then if that's authentic and aligned with me, then that will drop into my energy field. Right. I'll be able to manifest it. But honestly, I don't really care about having a Rolls Royce. I prefer, if somebody picked me up in their Rolls, okay, I'd enjoy that. But I don't need to have one. So that's not in alignment with me. So if I think I should have it versus in my heart, it's not going to align with my energetics or my frequency.
Exactly. Because you basically attract what you are. So whatever vibration is within your energy field is you can attract what is in resonance and matches that. So be the vibration of what you wish to attract.
I just did a channeled message for the October energies. And, right now I think the energies are all about, like, who are we? And what is it that you really want? Is it what you want? Is your life working the way you would like it to work? And if not, then time to check in. Like what area of your life isn't working?
Yeah.
And that's the area that will affect how you're manifesting. if you're not aligned with that. It might have to do with the kids or your spouse, but you're thinking, well, my relationship has nothing to do with me being able to manifest a Rolls Royce, but it has everything to do with it. You know, you can't segment the aspects of your life and think that you're still going to be in a flow. We have to be clear, completely clear. And when we're in that 5D, you literally think and you manifest. It's a space of no time.
Right.
No differential. It's just all there. And maybe the Rolls isn't parked in front of the house, but you have a sense it's all gone. It's there. And there's a calmness, as you were saying, and a trust that vision is going to align with that 3D experience of being here. I don't know. Are we going too deep down this rabbit hole?
No, I don't think so.
Because I don't think this is intellectual.
It's not. I mean that's the other barrier, isn't it? People get stuck in their intellect about it.
Yeah, and so I honestly don't. In my work, and I think in your work too, it's about guiding people to feel it, to be in your heart space, to be in that zone of alignment where manifesting abilities are natural. You know, I think there's a famous book called the Bible that says, you know, you will do what I do and much more. And, you know, manifesting everything is already there.
Yeah.
We're here as creators in the likeness and image of our Creator.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what we are. We're co-creators with divine source energy. We are.
So our darn head gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, we are creative beings. That's what we're here for. And we volunteered to come into this dense physical matter state and do it.
And that's the hard part, I swear to God. When I had the near-death experience, I was pissed, actually. I was really mad for a real long time because I was here. And now I had to do something about this density. I would much more be where, you know, the other side. But this is where the work really gets done, isn't it? And this is a powerful place to live. So for anybody else that might be struggling with that, I know a lot of people go into depression and they stay in that funk, and it's really just some stuck energy. And having worked through it many times, I feel it and I know it, and I know it's usually not my energy, which is so liberating.
Ditto.
You know, Leslie, both of us are scratching our eyes here. I find it fascinating that we've both got these allergy symptoms with the eyes.
Yes. It would be interesting to give each other a look about what that is.
Well, there we go.
That would be
a good place to start, Leslie.
That would be, yeah. Well, it's time for another break. Okay. And so we're going to, listeners, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth, and this is Dr. Leslie with Amira Hall talking about manifestation and near-death experiences and life purpose, and giving you some tips about manifestation to help you on your path. And we're going to be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and my guest today, Amira Hall. And we're having a fantastic discussion. And we feel like we have so much in common here. It's amazing. And if you're just tuning in, Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And our guest today, and I'm Dr. Leslie Phillips, the host of the show, but my guest today is Amira Hall, who she's a clairvoyant, she's an energy healer, and she is very focused on helping people to wake up. And so am I. And so we're really having a great discussion. So now, let me see, what shall we talk about now?
Waking up.
That's a good, yes.
Back in 06. Oh. Wake up, shift happens, you know. You know, I used to take people to Egypt. I took about 12 journeys, spiritual journeys of people that were on their path, and seeking. We were seekers. And I was meditating on one of the balconies one afternoon, and I was very curious because this was in 2006, and there was all this talk about 2012 and how everything was going to change. So I was asking my guide, what is this great shift? What is the great awakening of 2012 and beyond? And my guide said to me, imagine today you're a caterpillar and tomorrow you're a butterfly. And that's all the caterpillar explained. Caterpillar, my guide. But I pondered, and I still continue to ponder that experience of being a caterpillar. And I think many of us are caterpillars and crawling along, in a 3D world, struggling, from limb to limb, inch by inch. It takes a long time to get anywhere. And you have a limited view of your world, right? It's dark. You're under the leaves. You're hidden. You're not having a very broad and expansive experience. Then you go into a cocoon, where I believe many of the people we're working with, Leslie, are in that cocoon of healing and trying to understand, what is this next big thing? Who am I? What is my purpose? And feeling lost and uncertain and just clouded because we're in a cocoon. It's been hidden from us. And then all of a sudden we burst out of this sticky, warm place into the bright sunlight, and there's a garden full of flowers with fresh air and bright sunshine and many versions of living things. Wow, that's 5D living. Mm-hmm. So I've been pondering, what is that? How can I comprehend? And what do you mean I'm a caterpillar? Where is that on-off switch? And I think it's so incredibly subtle. For most of us, some people, there's a lot of great, clever marketers that are talking about the awakening and my awakening. And quite honestly, I think it's a process. And I don't think there's any one thing. I think many of us have had many opportunities, right? We're big triggers. Yeah. Certainly my near death was a great big trigger, but I had many before that.
Yeah.
And so is there an absolute? I don't think so.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I mean, I would say that my path has been similar in that, yes, there have been some major events that have happened and major shifts that have happened, but there's also daily shifts, or it is a process that it's of unfoldment. When you were talking about the caterpillar, I was thinking about something either today or yesterday, and it reminded me of it. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if you could stand in a room with all the different versions of yourself from different times in your life? And it's like, okay, yes, so because now I might be the butterfly, but not realize I am. But if I can see the caterpillar from 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Yeah, you look at those old photographs and you can look at the vibration. Wow.
Yeah.
In my near-death experience, I actually had a life review. And it's not what most people think.
Well, tell us about that. I wanted to ask more about
it's quite a story, quite honestly. But what triggered this for me is the life review was I actually saw where all my emotions got stuck on what I call a timeline in my body.
Yeah.
So those emotions, so the information that I got was all those stuck emotions, whether they were mine or other people's, because I was so sensitive, that those emotions were creating illness and dis-ease and dysfunction. So that was my aha moment of, wow, I've got some work to do.
That's amazing. And, some of the deeper work I do with my clients is exactly what you just said. We look at their life timeline and we look at where they've got trapped emotions and we de-energize it for them. And that's very interesting. So we're doing life reviews before the end of life.
Well, and that's part of the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
Because there is no end of life. That's the other thing I learned is we never die. And I really, really integrated that. I mean, that is so true for me now after that experience. So But the powerful work we do here is so important, because we take that consciousness with us to the next level and the next expression of ourselves, however that is, if you're going to re-go into another caterpillar or if you step in as a butterfly,
Right.
So it's ongoing work, I think, of waking up. It's a process. I think you and I are still waking up. You could say we're probably in the garden now, but...
Well, it's an evolution, isn't it? And we are constantly evolving. The universe is constantly shifting and evolving.
And the butterfly dies, doesn't it? And then it comes back and it...
And so even when we come back and when we're in other existences in the future on this planet, there's still evolution happening. It may be very far beyond where we are today, and some of the things that we only wish it would be like are happening, but there will still be evolution going on. There will still be vibrations increasing. It will be a different scale of vibrations increasing. But I think that the nature of the universe is it's constantly changing, and our nature as human beings is we're on the path returning to God, which is ever increasing our vibration.
They're so correct. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, my grandmother makes me think of this. She wasn't as evolved, but maybe she was. She used to say, "Honey, live and learn and die stupid." And I think that was her way of saying, no matter how much you know, there's still so much to know. You're still not at the place of knowing.
It's very wise words, and the least wise people are the ones who say they know it all, really.
It used to make me laugh.
There's no room for the new information in that case.
There's just so much. I think, having the gift of sight, and I don't think it's a gift. I think we develop this as you teach, in your intuitive training, and I also teach similar things. Is having that vision, having a clear picture, is so. The word is escaping. It's the most important thing in terms of how we manifest. Absolutely.
I mean, I love talking about clairvoyance, so maybe we should talk about that.
We were talking about manifesting.
Yes, yeah.
But to me, that's the most. I put out a survey on Facebook one day.
Yeah.
And real simple, just to cut through all the noise. What do you think is more important, intuition or manifesting? Because everybody wants to manifest.
Right. So
and these were a wise group of people. Yeah. Actually, 90% of them said intuition. Because if you don't have your intuition, you're not going to manifest.
Well, exactly. Or you're going to manifest something that you don't really want.
That's right.
Because you can't see what it is that you really want.
Yeah, I might win a Rolls Royce tomorrow, and then I don't have the money to pay for the taxes. Yeah. Or maybe I don't know how to drive it, or I don't have a garage big enough to park it, So,
and the power of the clairvoyance, the power of the inner sight, the power of seating your consciousness in your pineal gland is that it gives you neutrality. It places you above the emotions. It places you apart from the intellect. And so if you're being governed by the emotions or you're being governed by the intellect, you're not being governed by spirit, you're being governed by the levels in the body. And so I think, to be a master manifester, you must have your clairvoyance. Or or maybe I won't say you must have it, but it is a wonderful tool.
I'd say it's key.
Yeah.
I'd say it's key, because that's why I think ultimately people call me for a clearing or want a session, is because they want what they want and they're not able to get it. So they need somebody with a drill or a laser beam that can hone in and find out exactly where to unlock the block.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to see it.
Give them the clarity that they need. Yeah.
Right. But, I think bottom line is we can't be there for everybody, and we all need to learn how to access that truth for ourselves.
Yeah,
to know truth from a lie, or to know what's right for yourself or not.
Absolutely.
I think it's critical, and maybe people just aren't, a lot of people haven't gotten to that place yet of, apply the work, you know.
No, they haven't, and that's I'm interested in having that conversation with you really as well, which is just where people are at. We get a lot of our listeners send in questions.
Okay.
Because we do, I do a weekly video draw where I will answer on video people's questions, and
Okay.
so many of them are asking me to predict their future. When will I be rich? When will I meet my soulmate? When will I be healthy again? And on and on and on and on. And so, you know, and of course, and I'm going to get you to say what you would say to people like that. So,
well, I feel a bit mischievous today. So what I would say is right now, because the truth is, everything exists. You've already manifested it, only you don't have the perception to see it and or access it.
Right.
Well, no, Amira, what I really mean is, when am I going to see that man at the front door, you know? Well, you know, I used to tell my students when they'd always ask me, finally they stopped asking, you know what, if you're asking, you're not ready for it. Stop asking, and then you'll be aligned with it. Then you'll start to... So I can be a little feisty.
No, that's really cool. And what I try to do is explain to people, you're the creator of your reality. It's not some fate that is magically magicked into your future for you.
And that's where I want to hit them over the head with waking up. You know, it's like, unfortunately, people have to do their work. They want a quick fix. They want to push a button to drive through. And I think the tools and techniques you're teaching, and I know I'm teaching, are very aligned in that they are the drive-through in being able to manifest what you want. Only you've got to apply it.
Yeah. So what, in your experience working with students, what are the biggest blocks to them having the discipline and commitment?
Time, busyness, just not, you know, busy. Modern life is very distracting. Yeah. And I think the first step is being able to have enough self-regard, self-respect, or thinking, maybe even getting a wee bit selfish.
Yes.
To say, you know what, stop, I'm taking 15 minutes. And saying, I am going to give myself 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, period. Commit to myself. And let's start with 2 or 3 times a week, and then let's do it to build it to every day. But, you know, I won't work with students that aren't ready and willing to do that. And because it isn't tremendously draining on me.
Yeah.
So I will hold the space for you to climb the ladder and raise your vibration, but I can't do it for you. I use the metaphor. Look, at your mom teaches you how to bath yourself and get dressed and feed yourself as a little one, but then you feed yourself and then you bath yourself and shower and all that. That's like us in our role.
Yeah. We
will show you, but then you have to apply it. And you have to sort of keep the energy moving after our session. Otherwise, you're going to go
exactly. Flat. I mean, and that's the other thing I encounter is, so somebody is here at this point in their path and they want to be here, or they believe they should be here. So I've kind of awakened to some level of my spiritual nature, and therefore I want to be a healer, or I want to be a teacher. And I instantly want to be there. And many people are not willing to do the steps that it takes to get from A to B. And again, it's this instant McDonald's spirituality, I call it.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah. This is not an espresso track. And you can't, I've got a lot of thoughts dropping in here, but I understand exactly. I'm here in Southern California. There's a lot of, weekend workshop people that become instant healers. And I'm sorry, you're going to hit some bumps. And it's, I guess maybe I'm too responsible. And I recognize that the energies, this is so big, and we have an accountability. But maybe when I started, I didn't. I just was out there like a reckless healer and thinking I could heal others, and that's ego. That's a trick on ego. Truth is, we don't heal anybody.
No, all healing is self-healing.
Right. So, I guess I'm sort of chasing my tail in many ways in this conversation that, we can teach you tools and we can help you raise your vibration for you to manifest for yourself. I can't manifest for you, but I can clear the energetic blocks to assist you and support you. But ultimately, it's an inside job.
Yes, you have to be able to receive the change.
You're accountable to the creator just like I am. At the end of the day, when we check out, how can you say on your report card how you did?
Yeah, and it's so true, isn't it? I mean, if you're out there healing people after a weekend workshop, or you're out there reading people after a weekend workshop, there are so many energies that you are dealing with that you may not yet know how to clear.
And Sage is not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really, somebody's probably going to be lit up on this, but I tell you what, you've been doing this work for over 20 years?
That's right.
And myself too, professionally.
Yeah.
And in process, I bet you would be saying that you clear yourself every single day.
Yeah, constantly.
Right.
While I'm sitting and talking to you.
Yeah. And here we're going to start a Me Too movement of spiritual awakening. Okay.
Yes.
There's been a lot of whacks. There's been a lot of hits, right? We've hit the ground and we've come up and we've built. It's like building a muscle, going to yoga class or going to the gym. You can't go to one yoga class and call yourself an instructor.
No.
That's what I see a lot of young healers and newbies on the path. And so maybe we're stodgy, but I think a better word would be disciplined. Yeah. And there is a discipline and there is a level of mastery that I revere. And I honor you, honestly, Leslie, for all of that you've contributed in holding a space for so many others to sort of launch their careers. But, I would like to say, okay, ladies and gents that are healers, you know what? You've got some work to do, and it's your work to clear your crap. And then you'll become an exceptional, an incredible healer, and probably surpass Dr. Leslie and myself. We gotta be loving. That's the other thing, is loving and respecting our own work.
That's right. Yes. And as you do your work, you get to know who you are, and then accept who you are as well. I was going to say something that's popped out of my head, so I guess I'm not meant to say it. It's gone. It's gone. Well, we're nearing the end of the show. So maybe what we should do now is ask you to let listeners know how they can contact you.
Certainly. My website is amirahall.com, AMIRAHHALL.com. And I do offer a discovery session to get to know you and explore perhaps what, if we'd be a good match to work together. And also I have a YouTube channel with all kinds of videos and information where people can get the monthly channeled message and see where they're at.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight having you on the show. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leslie. You're doing amazing work, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Well, listeners, that's it for this evening. You've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Amira Hall, my guest this week. And we'll be back next week on CIVL on 101.7 FM. We're here every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again